When we believe that there is a panacea in our lives, we are leaning on it. I don't think panacea is the right word, actually. But it is often the case in our lives that we come to depend on something. Things in our life that we depend on, that we just assume that are reliable and it's the way that it's meant to be. I'm thinking about grocery stores and roads and social institutions that keep the fabric of society, cohesive. Part of why we are fairly effective as a species is at how well we can communicate with each other. And communication requires common ground, some common ground. And we humans have built a complex common framework for ourselves. And all humans alive today were already never knew a time when there were no grocery stores. Of course, there are humans in the world that perhaps have never seen a grocery store or do not live that way. However, in my life, I have always known grocery stores, and they are always there. They're always offering food and supplies for money, in exchange for money. And that was in my unconscious. The assumption that there is this being that always has food, where I can just get food. Like my fear of my survivalist fears are not often activated by food. Because I know there is an abundance of food around where I live. There are stores, there are parties, there are restaurants, there's takeout, there are ingredients, there's food. One only requires the means to get it. But it's not that there is no food. It's just that they are behind certain thresholds of money or access, usually money. So it's never been much of a concern, a fear for me. It's just that I see that I lean on that fact. There are always stores that give me food. That's my fact. And I lean on it. Like that, my lifestyle depends on it. Now, if if I lean on something like availability of food, if I lean on it and I don't know that I'm leaning on it, then even minor disruptions to that thing we're leaning on causes disruption. And often we don't know why. Like, like the deeper something is set as something we rely on unconsciously, the more, the less we understand the effect that something has on us. And I would say the more unpredictable our reactions can be. Grocery stores. What I think of is sometimes opinions over the internet, which is where we read our opinions these days. Or even from people personally. I hear how things are like, oh, now they're doing this, the government is doing that, it's passing that law. Oh, that's terrible. They shouldn't be doing that. Or, oh, how could he think of doing that? Like, how is it possible that they're not going to have, I don't know, goat's milk in the grocery store anymore? That's not possible. Or how is it possible that they are still selling cow milk in the stores? It's inhumane. There are people trying to push things one way and the other. However, it was never a right of ours to have grocery stores around so that we can have food. It usually works in mutual agreement. They are there because it benefits them to do it. And we accept that system because it benefits us to do it. We get to think less of exactly how to manufacture the food or how to generate that food, and more about other things. And for many of us, that feels good. There are other things we want to do instead of growing food. And for many not. For many people, they like the process of growing food. It just seems to me that complaints about the current state of things all over it in a very general statement, but specifically used for politics and economics and for social situations. A complaint about something is expressing one's disagreement with the state of something and assuming that should not be the case. Assuming that should not be the case. That's the way it is. It cannot be that way. When most of the time, it is not really their prerogative to choose what to do. Like, for example, what grocery stores equip. It's somewhat different to talk about policies that are passed by the governments because the population is technically part of, we are ruling ourselves really through representative power. But complaints about the state of things very often, well, they're based on assuming that we have the right to something, just because that has been the case for a long time. Like, for example, we humans have had for thousands of years a pretty nice climate here on the planet Earth. There we have some skies, some days with blue skies, some days with white skies, some days with gray skies, but sometimes it rains, sometimes it snows, sometimes it's colder, sometimes it's hotter. Sometimes it's drier, sometimes it's wetter. Sometimes the wind is very strong, sometimes the wind is very soft. Many kinds of climates. However, they are all pretty much suited for humanity to live in. We've adapted to it. And so we're living happily here, and that's the way it's been for the last 10,000 years. The weather is good. It's good to us. And now it seems that the climate is changing. Climate change is happening. And it arouses fear. It arouses fear in some people, saying, oh no, now the human race is not going to survive. And there's some manner of indignation sometimes in which it's spoken. Like, oh, how is it possible that this is happening? That we're going to lose our land, that we're going to that our agriculture is changing, that suddenly there are more tornadoes. And we're like, yep, that's happening. Complaining about the state makes little difference. That's not to say that one's disagreement it's not important to state one's disagreement and opinion. That is very important. Because it's part of communication. If we are like something or we do not like something, providing feedback to the world, especially to those who are producing these things, is helpful. We are more connected that way. When we complain, we are assuming that it should be in one way. It's a different attitude. A complaint is, this is how it is, I don't like it. What I want is this. Like saying, okay, this is right now, I don't like it, I want this. I don't know, okay. That's a valid statement. It's often not helpful because the path from here to here is often not clear. Especially if one demands the other state. A different approach is to propose a solution, where if we are at this state, we state, it's a more complete statement actually. It's saying, okay, this is where we are. I want this. So how about we take this path? We start going in this direction. Solution hunting. That is being willing to design a solution right there, to at least to start designing, proposing something to improve. I feel that is a key component that may be missing from a lot of discussions. I'm done with this video.